There we go. That's weird. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Haven't streamed in a while, and of course, did updates and things broke. Not only that, did updates, things broke, but also I had to reset my modem and my router, and of course, all my devices that work off of Wi-Fi are all sorts of confused. Hey, Danger Hobo, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Let me just adjust my webcam because it's making me look like super pale. Why? Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, that's better. Let me dial that up. And we'll dial back the brightness a bit. Doesn't help that, my forehead screams, the beacons are lit, Gondor calls for aid. My mic loud enough for everybody? Can you guys hear me just fine? Everything good on that end? Bring it a little bit closer. Yeah. Sweet. All right. Everything sounds good. All righty. Sorry for the delay. So, before we get started with this evening's content, this evening is Lore Equals Gameplay episode 25, I think I said. Something like that. Going over the April 2024 Galactapedia update, and as always, guiding our explorations of the lore with the Ark Starmap to help us sort of get a frame of reference for the geographic, astronomical locations. Yeah, that's right. My camera feels off-centered too. Maybe it's just this way. Yeah, that's the way I need to slide. There we go. Okay. So yeah, we Nazareth and I were going to be doing the Pathfinders podcast tonight, but his internet got knocked out and it is not back up and running yet. So until that's back up and running, hopefully we are able to get another episode in over the next week or so. Once his internet is up and running, our schedules align. But the clock is ticking. So, as you guys probably know, because I mentioned it many times, my wife is pregnant with twins. She was 32 weeks as of last Friday, and the twins are measuring almost 5 pounds each, which is huge for twins. Huge, huge, huge. Yeah, Nazareth ditched me for hot babes for sure. That I would not blame him. Definitely better company. But yeah, so the twins could come any day now. She was measuring at 40 weeks at 28 weeks gestation a month ago, and median for delivery of twins is 36 weeks, which is less than 4 weeks away. But except for she's measuring way ahead. Like normally when you're having twins, they're size wise they're like on the 25 to 30th percentile for size, for weight, mass, and ours are measuring closer to 60th percentile. So they are slightly above average if they were single kids, but there's two of them in there, and they are gestationally in a configuration where each baby has its own amniotic sac and own placenta. So there's my poor wife is just absolutely huge, and very uncomfortable. And so the kids could come at any time. And when they do, I will definitely be on hiatus for a little bit when it comes to the podcast and streaming, simply because I'll be exhausted and I won't have any free time whatsoever. I'll be taking care of my wife, taking care of the babies, taking care of my son, taking care of the house. Yeah. So, but I'll let you guys know in the Discord and I'll make the announcement on Twitter when that happens. But yeah, Naz and I do need to do an episode to cover the April monthly reports. Yeah, Giggle Wife. As well as the most recent roadmap roundup. Talk about that. I'd love to do another spectrum pulse or scanner anomaly, but I don't know if we're going to have the time. So we'll see. And I am hoping to stream a little bit next week playing, pardon me, Homeworld 3 when it comes out, because I got the collector's edition with the model ships, and I'm very excited about them to put them up on my shelves with all my other model spaceships. So I'll show those off. Unless the twins come and I'm not ready. If the twins aren't here, I will be streaming Homeworld 3, and I will show off the models when I do so. So, yes. So Galactapedia or Lore Equals Gameplay, episode 25. So if this is your first time catching this show in particular, this is where I go. Generally, I go over the Galactapedia updates every month, and sometimes I'll go over other pertinent and poignant pieces of lore that CIG puts out, especially when they are in context of things that are ongoing in development of the game, to help put context to what we know about the game, its development, the gameplay mechanics, and how why CIG is developing not only the game but the universe the game is set in the way that they're doing it. And that way we can sort of set our expectations and have an idea of what the game universe is going to be like as it continues to grow. Yeah. Steve Daddy CIG. You can play when the twins get here. That's what a sling wrap is for. Yeah, I have one. Well, I had the shirt. I have a shirt thing. I played video games when we had Boone, and I just put him in my shirt, and I'd let my wife nap, and I'd come in and play games for a little bit, and I would just try to make sure I didn't do anything super excited where I'd like yell in his face. But I did do it. But with twins and a toddler, don't hold your breath. My parents will be coming to visit for several weeks and helping us out, but I don't think that is going to excuse me enough to get out and play much in the way of video games. I'm hoping, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but we have a Bar Citizen event here in Boise on the 25th, and I would really love to be able to go. I didn't get to go to the last one because of life. And I miss our group. We've got a really fun group of people. There was 5 of us total that went to CitizenCon and got to all hang out together, and it's always a good time. And that's my primary social interaction face to face with other adults outside of work is getting together with those people once a quarter. Not with that attitude. But yeah, so the Galactapedia update, that's what we're going to be covering this evening. So let's go ahead and we will switch screens. Before I do that, we'll turn off the bookmark tab. There we go. Oh, I need to make sure the star map loaded correctly. Pardon me 1 second. Okay, there we go. And zoom out. All right, let's switch screens. And when we switch screens, let me know if the transition plays the sound. Actually, I need to change that on mine too. Let's see, monitor and output. All right, let's see if this works. Let me know if this transition plays the sound for you guys. It played it on my end. I'm hoping it played it for you guys as well. It worked? Hooray! Something worked on the first try. Alrighty. And before we get started, just a reminder, everybody, if you're watching the stream right now live, you can see at the bottom of the screen. We are always raising money for stackup.org. It's a organization that connects veterans and members of the military with video games and video game communities to help combat PTSD and the symptoms associated with being deployed and stationed far away from family and other support, your other forms of support. And so it's an organization I believe in. Obviously, being a part of video game communities and playing video games is a big deal for me. And I'm a veteran and a member of the military right now. This is I always joke with you guys, but it's I joke about it, but it's true. Playing video games and playing video games with you guys, talking about video games with you guys. This is my therapy. It works for me. It helps me. And I want to help StackUp.org, help other people like me, do the same. Find a game, find a community they love, and help prevent PTSD and depression through the power of gaming. So that's where I'm wearing the StackUp.org T-shirt. So, and I keep no monetization for myself. Anything anything and everything get donated to StackUp.org. I actually need to send out a payout to them. So any sub money goes to them. All the ad revenue goes to them. So, and you can donate directly to StackUp.org by clicking the link in the chat. If it's not up on chat, you can put exclamation point charity. Give you the link. Whoops. Yep, that'll give you exclamation point charity in the chat. We'll bring up the MooBot and to give you the link to the donor drive, and you can donate directly to them. Unfortunately, I don't have it set up and working yet where it gives us a notification in the chat that somebody donated. I've been trying to get that to work, so I apologize. But I do send a message to every donor thanking them for their donation. And I really just need to be better about shouting people out live on stream. But until I can get those notifications working, it's kind of hard to do. Anyway, so here's the Galactapedia, or the star map. And here's the Galactapedia entry for April 2024. So the Galactapedia is, in lore, the Galactapedia is essentially like stored on a database on the Ark, which is like a human-built space station in the Teac system that basically the UEE built as sort of an olive branch after the fall of the Mezzers towards the other species of the verse to say, hey, we know that the Mezzers were not to be trusted and they did a lot of shady stuff, but we want to share information with you and create this space where we can come together and share information, so that way we can, as a galaxy, we can move forward. And whether it's worked or not, you could say either way. But in the meantime, it's a repository of information about everything. The UEE, the Banu, the military, the space stations and locations and key individuals and key events. So I like to sort of role play that these updates to the Galactapedia get put, once they get input into the database on the Ark, they then get pushed out via Spectrum, which is like the internet in lore, to everybody, so everybody can see what the updates are. The changes to the known and share the galaxy-wide shared information network. And I sort of read through it as if I'm a student at a university in the Retor system. I'm in the library, and behind me up on the wall are the tenured professors, the lore guys for Star Citizen. We have Jail, we have Algrid, and then we have the Astropub right here, the Astro Historian. So that's my fun little way of making lore a little bit more interesting and role-playing it. Pardon me. So, the Ark Teac system. Welcome to this month's Galactapedia Update Roundup. This month we explore the Trice and Virgil systems. Talk about two very opposite places. Trice or Trice, not sure yet. And you'll see why these are so very diametrically opposed. Take a glance at the Vanguard, Viking, Vendetta, Veritas, and Virgo systems. Ooh, Vandul heavy, folks. Meet the emperor who reigned before Taiyu Sao. Yep, something Emperor Krei. So this is the current emperor of the Xi'an Empire. Visit the ruined city of Boro and take a deep dive into the fall of Virgil. Virgil being the last or second to last star system to fall to the Vandul. The most recent one was Caliban in 2884. But Virgil is the system from which the Vandul attacked into Vega, which is what is occurring at the very beginning of Squadron 42. Join the Spectrum thread for any discussion or feedback. Before we get into it, let's take a look at the Spectrum thread. We'll see if Sherry has made any replies to any comments. Oh, here we go. So Brixie always puts in replies. Thanks for the early update. I'm guessing this is a sign 323 will be going live soon. No need to confirm or deny. I did see you have seen the updates I posted for the last patch. I'll let you know if I find anything with today's entries. So Brixie is like super laser-like focus on the lore and incredible recall of dates and fine details and such. Hi from Sherry Heiberg, the archivist. She's the one that basically curates the Galactapedia and makes these entries. It's a sign that I'm going to be on vacation during the usual posting time. Nice. Aha. Okay, so this is interesting. At a glance, I may have spotted one error in this month's post. The Vanguard system is listed as having a classified discovery date, yet my records already appear to have discovered the data as 2943. Based on this article, is when the UE knew of its existence before Meyer visited. So the UE knew it was there and kept the location of this Vandul system secret to include its jump point. Kept it secret from the public. So that's interesting. It was actually the second system that they became aware of, hence its designation as VSO2. The discovery in this article is the Vandal encampment on Vanguard 3. If you read closely, you can see that Meyer already knew the system was called Vanguard before he entered it. Oh, okay. Nice. Boro has its location set to Virgil 1 instead of Caliban 2 on the card. Fixed. Love the new articles. The 6th battle group sacrificed to try and hold back the Vandal, allowing for evacuation of millions of people before Cyrene was invaded. Reminded me a lot of Leonidas and the 300 Spartans sacrificed at the Battle of Thermopylae from ancient Greece history. That makes me want to see a future entry on Admiral Mira Triolo. You can read more about her exploits in the Siege of Tibur article. Alrighty, cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the full-length article. So every Galactapedia update has a full-length article, which is usually several paragraphs, and then the short articles are usually 1 or 2 paragraphs at most. So before we start, the fall of Virgil, in order to orient ourselves to the article, let's find Virgil. So here is Vega, where Squadron 42 starts out. If you remember the sequence with the bagpipes, that's in the Vega system in orbit of Vega 2. And here is the Virgil system right here. And so the march of the Vandal through human-controlled space started in Orion. Orion was the first human-controlled system to fall. From there, Tibur fell. And when Tibur finally fell after a several year-long siege, and if there was a long gap in between the fall of Orion and the fall of Tibur. But then when Tibur fell, the Vandal immediately kept pushing into Virgil and basically steamrolled the fleeing defenders from Tibur and really just massacred the system. And then after Virgil, you had another gap of several decades, I think it was. Yeah. Actually, like 150 years before 2884 when Caliban fell. And so Caliban is over here. The interesting part about the fall of Caliban and the fall of all three of these systems, the fall of each of these systems occurred due to the arrival of a kingship and its escorting fleet. But each one of these systems, Orion, Tiber, and Virgil, has a large jump point. Vega also has a large jump point, and a kingship attacked as part of the attack on Vega. But somehow a kingship attacked Caliban. So we don't know if how much the sizes of jump points matter. But my theory is that in order for a kingship to move through a jump point, it has to be a large jump point. And my theory is that there is a unknown jump point into Caliban from a Vanduul-controlled system that is a large jump point. During the fall of Tiber ultimately fell because the kingship and its fleet came through a previously unknown jump point from the Vector system, not from Orion. So it's very reasonable to believe that the kingship that snuck into Caliban somehow a kingship snuck into Caliban. It's very reasonable to believe that it snuck into Caliban because it came through a jump point that we didn't know about. So let's read about the fall of Virgil. The fall of Virgil refers to the 2nd of January 2737, so 217 years ago in terms of present universe time, because it's now 2954. Yeah, that math is right. Yeah, 217 years. Invasion of the Virgil system by the Vanduul clan, by the Vanduul directly after the conclusion of the Siege of Tiber. United Empire of Earth forces, depleted after 4 years of battle, were unable to mount a suitable defense against the invading Vanduul, who pursued them once Tiber fell. Although the system was lost, the UE Navy was able to cover the retreat of over 1 million refugees. We're like, oh, 1 million refugees. Well, they're like, oh, that's really good, except for the population there was millions, multiples. So a lot of people died. Lots of people died. And when it comes to, and I don't remember where the source is, so take it with a grain of salt, but I have read it somewhere that during the siege of Tiber and the fall of Virgil, UEE losses in terms of, they say casualties, so we don't know how many killed, but UEE losses were in the magnitude of millions, which is just nuts to think about. So build up. Before 2681 and the events of Vanduul human first contact, the Virgil system was on an upward trajectory. As the launch point of Project Farstar, it was both a hub for explorers and a symbol of the UEE's continual outward expansion. Cyrene, Virgil 1, was growing to be an economic powerhouse, but having both a thriving resort industry due to its beautiful lush landscapes and a robust agricultural system fed by highly fertile soil. However, when the Vanduul began launching regular raids in Virgil, the system's growth slowed. Project Farstar and talks of senatorial recognition for Cyrene were put on hold pending resolution of the worsening Vanduul human conflict. After the Orion system fell to the Vanduul in 2712, the military forces stationed there retreated into the Tiber system, where they set up a line of defense in anticipation of a forthcoming assault. With the mounting threat to its neighboring systems, Virgil's already faltering tourism industry collapsed, and the system was soon transformed into a military outpost. At the start of the Siege of Tiber in 2732, so 2 decades between the fall of Orion and the beginning of the Siege of Tiber in 2732. The population of Cyrene dropped to a few million people, as all those with the means to do so fled. Countless others who did not have the resources to escape on their own applied to the government to help them relocate, but the Imperator Gaylor Messer IX refused to grant any aid, stating that Cyrene could not afford to lose more workers. Many turned to smugglers to help them flee. but some remained behind. So this is something to think about in terms of gameplay. If you don't have the means to flee a system, to leave a system on your own, and the government isn't going to give you any isn't going to grant you aid to do so. Like if you're trying to leave Vega, um, the Vega system, one of the two populated planets there, you might have to be smuggled. There might be, we don't know, but there could be there could be something that would be impeding people from moving, leaving the Vega system right now. We don't know if this sort of thing has continued since the fall of the Mezzers. So we already know that there's plenty of people smuggling going on within the UE right now. It's not just smuggling drugs into Lorville, but there will be people smuggling in the game. So think about that from a gameplay perspective. People smuggling in terms of voluntary people smuggling, but also slave trading. There are the system of Null is dominated by smugglers and the slave trade in terms of piracy and illegal activities. And everybody always talks about Pyro. Pyro is a baby lawless system. It's not even 10 AU anymore. Null is 120. Null makes Pyro look tame. Think about that. Many turned to smugglers to help them flee, but some remained behind, believing that the might of the UE would eventually prevail. Their faith appeared on the verge of paying off in November 2736, when the UE conducted a bombing run on Tiber II and destroyed all Vandal encampments there, enabling them to retake the planet. The Tiber Belt Alpha, and the Vector Tiber Jump Point. 2 UE Navy battle groups departed the system for repairs, and 2 more remained to pick off the few remaining Vandal. It seemed that the UE was on the verge of victory. So this is interesting because I don't remember if they specifically said this in the original articles, but they do talk about the bombing of the Vandal encampments on Tiber II, but them talking about retaking the planet, as well as this Tiber Belt Alpha and the jump point. Wait a minute. Hold on. I want to see if this is accurate. Because I read this article on the Siege of Tiber recently because it was in the Galactapedia update, and I could have sworn it said that the... So let's read on real quick while that loads. So the UE conducted this big bombing raid on Tiber II, destroying the Vandal encampments there. So the Vandal had a bunch of forward operating bases that they're using there to support their operations in the system, and the UE managed to get a bunch of bombers in there and just carpet bomb the crap out of them. Bomb the Vandal there back to the Stone Age. They retook the planet, so they invaded the planet. And as well as the asteroid belt and the Vector Tiber jump point. 2 UE Navy battle groups departed to the system for repairs. So they pulled back a whole bunch of ships after this massive victory. But 2 more battle groups remained to pick off the few remaining Vandal. It seemed that the UE was on the verge of victory. On the 29th of December, 2736, so a month later, the tide abruptly turned. A kingship accompanied by an enormous Vandal clan entered Tiber through the Orion Tiber jump point and opened fire on the 81st Battle Group. Within half a day, 3/4 of their ships were destroyed. Admiral Mira Triolo ordered them to retreat into Virgil while she remained behind with the 6th Battle Group to hold the line. So let's see what this says. Oh, dang it. Refresh. see. Let's find a king ship. Huh. Maybe. I could have sworn. Hold on. We're gonna check something out real quick. Let's see. Aha! Retcon. Okay, so we have a retcon. We have a thing that has changed. So here is the original. So this originally was in a jump point, the original Siege of Tiber article. But originally, the Siege of Tiber. Where'd he go? Yeah, so the Siege of Tiber was retcon, I believe. Yeah. Oh, wait. Nope. That part was not retcon. Okay. Never mind. All right. I was wrong. So the jump point from the vector system wasn't previously known, but it isn't they didn't specify that the kingship came through that jump point, just that they did inadvertently discover it, and from that jump point they were ambushed, and so the admiral who was initially leading the defense of Tiber was ambushed there and killed, and his ship was lost along with a lot of other ships. And that's what made defending the system so difficult early on, because they didn't know where all these Vandal were coming from. They were during the siege of Tiber, they were blockading the jump point from Orion, but they're like, how do these Vandal keep on getting in here if we're blockading the jump point? And it turns out they're coming through the back door. So let's see, where were we? A kingship accompanied by an enormous Vandal clan entered Tiber through the Orion Tiber jump point and opened fire on the 81st Battle Group. Within half a day, 3/4 of their ships were destroyed. Admiral Mira Triolo ordered them to retreat in a Virgil while she remained behind with the 6th battle group to hold the line. When the remains of the 81st entered Virgil, it set off a panic. Millions of people who remain in the system clamored to be evacuated ahead of a potential Vandal invasion. Citing the actions of the Vandal in the aftermath of the Battle of Orion, the Governor's Council of Cyrene issued a statement assuring the public that a secondary invasion was unlikely to occur and that they had sent a message to the Imperator requesting immediate military assistance. This helped calm things enough to avoid the threat of riots, while the Council, with the help of the 81st, was able to organize an evacuation effort that succeeded in transporting over 1 million evacuees through the Vega and Oberon jump points over 3 standard days. On the 2nd of January 2737, the 6th battle group in Tiber fell. Within hours, the kingship and its accompanying clan entered the Virgil system, headed straight for Cyrene, making landfall at the city of Kostak Arms. Kostak Arms and Virgil, the company, I think it's Virgil Ltd, is which are the makers of the Titan suit as well as other armors. That's where these companies come from. Those two companies were founded by people whose planet was invaded, who are used to years and years of Vandal raids and fighting off the Vandal. So those people don't mess around. Launching an all-out assault on the planet. The remnants of the 81st could offer little resistance, but elected to do all they could to hold off the Vandal, while the last transports fled the system under the protection of Squadron 214. When the final transport made it through the Vega jump point, Squadron 214 turned back to attempt to rescue more people. They were able to complete 2 more runs before they were unable to continue. The Vandal continued their assault against Cyrene and the rest of the system unabated until no other life remained. The surface of Cyrene was reduced to nothing, casting a cloud of radioactive ash into the atmosphere that created nuclear winter. Hundreds of thousands of humans and Tavaran that were unable to escape perished. Those who had not died during the initial Vandal onslaught soon starved or succumbed to radiation poisoning. Oh, sorry, Mr. Dank Handyman, but no. Ban, goodbye. Not looking for your services. So the reason there's a good number of Tavaran living in the Virgil system is because it wasn't a UEE controlled system. Didn't have UE Senate representation or anything like that. You know, as a human, it was a human system, but the UE government didn't control it, and so a lot of Tavaran, weren't all that into the idea of assimilating with the UEE, and so by going to systems that were civilized, they could, have a life, but not necessarily be under the thumb of the UE, even though the UE had a military presence there. So hundreds of thousands of civilians died, along with, however many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of troops were killed. Aftermath, analysis, and impact. The military aid that the Governor's Council of Cyrene had requested did not arrive until well over a week later. By that point, the Virgil system was completely overrun. Instead of entering the system and ousting the Vandal, the military created a defensive line around the jump point to Virgil in anticipation of another assault. As with the loss of the Orion system, the attack did not immediately occur, and the Vandal began to harvest Virgil's resources. There's probably a real guy out there who wants the username Dank Handyman 2. Bots ruin everything. Yes, they do. Multiple scouting missions came back with reports that Cyrene was irrecoverable. In 2743, the UE announced that they would not retake the system. So 2 years before the attack on Vega, they announced that they would not retake the system. Makes you wonder with, terraforming technology, could they return a planet with a irradiated atmosphere to a habitable state? Because Virgil, the big draw to Virgil was Virgil 1 and the planet Cyrene being in the green belt, in that it was habitable and lush and was great for agriculture. I don't remember. Yeah, Sino didn't have anything going for it. It's just a smog planet. But other than that, there wasn't much to Virgil. There's the asteroid belt, but there's only the 2 planets, I think. Yeah. Whereas Tiber had a big asteroid belt, multiple planets and such. Suddenly finding themselves on the front line, residents of the neighboring Vega system took what happened in Virgil as a cautionary tale and began to flee in droves, severely impacting the system's economy. Evacuees from Virgil, most of whom had little in their possession but their clothing, suffered food shortages as they awaited resettlement. Some were able to relocate to other systems, but the majority stayed near the military bases on Artemis, Vega 2, and took any jobs that they could. Historians believe that this may have prevented the system's economy from entering a true depression, though it did not avert a recession. Today, over a quarter of people born in the Vega system can trace their lineage back to former residents of Cyrene. The destruction of the Virgil system deeply affected the UE. While Orion's loss had been significant, it was a young colony and had not undergone significant development, and Tiber was a sparsely populated mining system with only small settlements. Virgil had over 300 years of history and was a major system with a world on the verge of recognition in terms of senatorial recognition. As the heart of Project Farstar, it was also a symbol of the UE's continual expansion. The UE Navy's defeat at Tiber and subsequent failure to protect Virgil shook the people's confidence in the military and in the UEE at large. Historians cite the fall of Virgil as one of the many motivating factors that eventually led to the anti-Mezzo Revolution in 2792. So that is the fall of Virgil. Pretty epic battle, and crazy to think about. You can what if it all you want, but what if they hadn't pulled those 2 battle groups back into Virgil for repairs and they had stayed in Tiber? Had they been on hand when that Vanduul kingship and its clan came through the jump point from Orion, could they have defeated them instead of just one battle group? What if they had up to 4, even though 2 of them still needed repairs? We don't know what extent, but could they have held the line there? So that is the full-length article for this Galactapedia update. Let's read about the Trice system. And before we open up the article, let's orient ourselves real quick. So the Trice system is really interesting to me, and it's one of the first things that I made a Spectrum post about lore-wise. It's interesting because here we are in Xi'an space, essentially to the stellar north of the UEE. Here's the Trice system. And they're like, oh, what's the big deal? Well, this is the Xi'an logo. The green little triangle guy pointing, or arrow pointing up. This is a Banu logo. This is a Banu system in Xi'an space on the complete opposite side of the known galaxy from the rest of Banu-controlled space. What the heck? How did they get there? We don't know. So, before we start into this article, I'm going to run and go grab some water. I will be right back. I am really thirsty. Let's see. Aether Drift says potentially they could. There are nuclear reactor technologies that take radioactive waste and turn it essentially into inert soil with some level of efficiency. Yeah, no, I think so. Here's the thing: if you read the lore about the Anvil Valkyrie, it was designed 100% to be a part of massed planetary invasions for when in the what was deemed inevitable counterattack, where the UEE would retake previously human planets from the Vandul. Well, if you're gonna land on Virgil 1 on Cyrene, in order to retake it, you might want to have a reason to do so besides just killing the Vandul on the surface. And so if they're going to be retaking, Virgil 1 or, oh gosh, I forget the name of the main inhabited planet in Caliban. There's several there's essentially multiple inhabited planets, or previously inhabited planets where the Vandul harvest resources and have encampments, essentially forward operating bases that would require an invasion force to retake them. That to me that suggests that we would have some ability to make use of those planets, if not make them habitable again, or like in the terms of Virgil, but like the other ones aren't radioactive wastelands. They've just been, cities bombed and such, and humanity's evacuated. But yeah, so I would assume that we'd have some ability to do that. Hey, North End Trooper, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Fingers crossed that I can make it to the event on the 25th. We shall see. If I've got newborn twins, probably not. So, the Trice system. Before we do that, let's right click and see. So, it says here that is 11 AU. So, let's get in the system and take a look. All right, not a lot going on there. The Trice or Treece system is a planetary system in the Bennu Protectorate that consists of a G-type main sequence star and one planet. A stronghold of religion, Sulis, the Trice system is the heart of spiritualism in the Bennu Protectorate. It is connected to the rest of the Protectorate via a single jump point and is somewhat isolated from the rest of Bennu society. How? There's 2 jump points. One. 2. Neither one of those go to Bennu space. I mean, the isolated from the rest of Bennu society is that's correct. But there's 2 jump points. The Sulis that reside in Trice have utilized this isolation to build up a sense of mystique around the system, making it a compelling destination for the curious. So, in terms of gameplay, this is just going to be one of these places that people go visit just to see stuff and to meet the Bennu. But a big amount of gameplay draw for this system would be just transporting people there. Obviously, we know that there's going to be people transporting jobs, contracts. The whether it's transporting NPCs or players. The tourism is a thing in game. And so there's people are going to be making pilgrimages. People are going to be going there just to see it because it's a wonder. It would be for people to go see these temples and witness the Bennu doing their whatever religious stuff they do for their religion. The other thing that would be a significant gameplay draw for the Trice system would be because it's a heart of spiritualism and it's a home of religious Sulis. there's not going to be industry and agriculture and a lot of commercial production going on in the system. And so there's going to be a big demand for imports to sustain these Sulis and the people who live there. So lots of movement of goods. I also imagine that there would be the opportunity to meet with these religious Sulis. Pardon me. Sorry, hiccups. And do contracts for them in a way as a way of gaining reputation with the Banu at large, and potentially gaining certain favor with other Banu who are religious, like you're the Esosuli, which would be like the CEO or the chief of a Suli, may be very religious. And in order to get an in with his Suli or with him, in order to get a contract, you could build up your reputation by doing contracts for the religious Suli that he like ascribes to, if that makes sense. Or you could, maybe you could, I will trust you to do this job, but in order to do so, you have to bring me back, this artifact from the Trice system. Or a copy of this sacred text, or what have you. Yeah, so interesting to think about. So Trice 1, purchase divine guidance here. Of course, the Banu have monetized and commercialized religion. Trice is the first and only planet from the sun of the Trice system Banu Protectorate. An inhabitable super Earth near the inner edge of the system's grain band, it has a warm climate and multiple oceans. For as long as the Banu have been in contact with other civilizations, Trice has been a stronghold for religion Sulis and is a major destination for Banu. Pardon me, had to take off. And is a major destination for Banu seeking to purchase divine guidance. You can purchase divine guidance. To me, it makes me think of like palm readers and the people who do tarot cards and astrology, people who do all that sort of stuff. I'm just imagining a whole bunch of Banu doing that sort of stuff, but with a religious spin to it. It is said in the Protectorate that the Sulis on Trice 1 are able to influence daily life in the Protectorate by the weight of their dictums. So if you're not aware of what a dictum is, a formal pronouncement from an authoritative source, or a short statement that expresses a general truth or principle. It's like a proclamation. So, weighty dictums. Yeah. Maybe not the best word to use. And so here's Trice 1 here in the green band. And of course, orbiting Trice 1 is the Trice Flotilla. A fleet of traders. Traders, not traitors. Come on, open the link. Good grief, internet. It's so weird that those links sometimes don't work. The Trice Flotilla is an interconnected network of spacecraft. So there's multiple of these flotillas operated by the Banu throughout Banu space. And it's basically a whole bunch of ships that have been docked together to basically create like a big old space station that can basically expand and contract as as needed, based off of how many people are there and how much draw there is to the market. Weighty dictum, a good name for a whole E. Yeah, I hope I make it to the Var Citizen too. I really need it, man. I need to get out and hang out with my people live and in person. But, things happen. Yeah, the Trice Flotilla is an interconnected network of spacecraft and space stations. So it includes space stations and spaceships located in the Trice System Banu Protectorate, made up mostly of the ships belonging to trade-centered Sulis. The Banu on the flotilla maintain contracts with the religion Sulis on Trice 1 to handle the export and import of goods to the planet. Yeah, so there's going to be, just like any other Banu system, the chief gameplay there is trade. And when I say trade, I'm not talking about buying and selling of commodities. I'm talking about this Banu owns this, and moves these goods, and they will pay you to deliver them for them. Or you'll have they will be selling them in the marketplace to you. Not trade in terms of I'm going to buy 1,000 aluminum and take it there and sell it to them. It's going to be in the trade of goods. That's why it's called the merchantman. Think of the guy with I always, like, when I think of the Banu, I think of the shopkeeper guy at the beginning of the Aladdin movie. Come closer, come closer. So yeah, this is just like the other Banu systems. This is going to be a good place if you're interested in hauling and moving goods and doing so to gain reputation with the various Banu Sulis. If you wanted to get in with these religion Sulis, you might start off by getting in with the trade Sulis that operate there. And okay, you're going to work for the trade Suli that has a contract with this religion Suli, because that's the one that has this Banu palm reader who is making these dictums, who also will sign this thing that you want to take back to the other part of Banu space to get it for a guy. And it's a common trope in RPGs and such, would be to recover and go get an item and bring it back to from one person to bring it back to another person in order to get get that quest line. Same thing. That's how this is. I guarantee you that's how this is going to work. Space traveler, you are no match to my finest potions. Oh man. So quick tangent. I think it was the second to the last episode of Fallout, the show, and the doctor and the guy with the injured foot. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But if you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. That guy's a Banu. Yeah. Potions, elixirs, and what's the word for that? Concoctions. Yeah. So, Trice System, Trice Flotilla, and yeah, that's it for the Trice System. I am going to make a reply to Sherry, be like, hey, there's 2 jump points here, not 1. But yeah, that is it for the Trice System. But yeah, very curious that somehow the Banu have the hub of their religion in Xi'an space. Pardon me. Whenever I get to talking on the podcast, it always just makes me have to cough for some reason. I don't know why. It drives me out really quickly. So Virgil system. We are going to look at the Virgil system. Consumed by the Vandul. So let's go back to the oh dear. Virgil system right here. Is that say 16? I think it's a 16 AU. So several times larger than Stanton, larger than Pyro even, but still not very large. Still what I would consider a small system, whereas Stanton would be an extra small system. But you can see there's 3 planets. So Virgil 3 way out here, the Gideon's belt, the asteroid belt sort of in the middle, multiple jump points. One going to Nyx, one going to Tiber, back to Tiber, one going to Vega, one to Oberon, and one to Kellogg. But let's get back out real quick and look at the size of these jump points. So the one going to, it has, let's see, we'll start with the largest. So a large jump point going to Tiber, one to Oberon, and one to Vega. And then a medium jump point, right? Yeah. Medium jump points going to Kellogg, which Kellogg is the home of Quarterdeck, which is the prison planet with the Justice Star space station in orbit of it. But there's also I forget the name of the planet, but there's a developing species on a planet in the Kellogg system, and it's the only way to get to Kronos, which is where the oh gosh, what's the name of the planet that the UE is manufacturing? Project. God, I'm brain farting. Which is also the only way to get to the Branagh system, which is where home of the Tavaran diaspora. But Virgil also has a medium jump point to the Nyx system. So it is not beyond the pale that you could see Vandul in Nyx. But if you subscribe to the idea that the jump point sizes mean something, that medium jump point size could have an impact on what size Vandul ships you could potentially see in Nyx. Just like the jump point going from Pyro to Stanton is medium, but somehow the Xenothreat is able to bring through a Idris, you could potentially see a Idris equivalent from the Vandul and below in the Nyx system if you subscribe to that's how it works. So something to think about, because everybody's all excited about Nyx. Hopefully, it's going to be going back into development soon. I really hope that we'll hear about it sooner rather than later. But it's not only is it a unlawful system, it's not controlled by anyone. The People's Alliance of Levski controls that, controls Levski and a couple of space stations, but there's multiple outlaw factions within the Nyx system controlling different portions of the system. But you could also have the Vandul raiding there. The Vandul predominantly raid where there is resources for them to raid, because there are not habitable planets and there aren't major settlements there. There's not a whole lot drawing the Vandul to Nyx, but that doesn't mean that you might not see them there. Whereas the Vandul would be, have raided Oberon, much more likely to continue to raid Vega. They might even raid the Kellogg system and try to land their harvesters on that protected planet and suck up all the resources. So, the Virgil system is a planetary system within Vandal territory, formerly of the UEE. Discovered in standard Earth year 2412, it was colonized by humans soon after as a part of Project Farstar and became a system renowned for its agriculture and lush vegetation. Cyrene Virgil 1 in particular was covered in tropical forests and densely populated cities. The system was ransacked by the Vanduul in 2737, immediately following the siege of Tiber. Now occupied by the Vanduul, many of Virgil's celestial bodies are now being strip mined by clans passing through the system, and Cyrene has been rendered nearly uninhabitable. So they are still strip mining it. Obviously, it would take a long time to strip mine a planet. And the Vanduul have only been there for 200 years, and humanity has continued to raid the Vanduul in return while they are in the Virgil system in order to try and disrupt their logistics. That's been an ongoing thing. So we'll go into the Virgil system. So here's Cyrene in the green belt on the inside. That's the planet they're talking about. And does that... Oh, it has moons? Oh, there are moons in orbit of... Cyrene. Interesting. I was not aware of this. Oh, this one even has a name. Hey, Victoria. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming and hanging out. So, Cyrene, a lost Arcadia. Pardon me. Virgil 1, nicknamed Cyrene, is the first planet from the sun of the Virgil system, located in Vandal territory. The only terraforming candidate when the system was discovered, it was quickly turned into a beautiful and warm world with exceptionally fertile soil. It was on track to receive recognition from the UEE Senate until Standard Earth year 2732, when the Vanduul invaded the neighboring Tiber system and Cyrene was transformed into a military stronghold. When Tiber fell in 2736, the Vanduul immediately flooded into the system and launched an attack on Cyrene, dropping countless bombs and destroying nearly all life on the planet. Today, the atmosphere is poisonous and the once warm environment is deep in nuclear winter. Okay. Think about a planet deep in nuclear winter. You know, the worst parts of microtech, but it used to be a tropical paradise with multiple densely inhabited cities. Think about what exploring a planet like that would be like on the surface. It's got a poisonous atmosphere, not breathable, super cold. It's irradiated. There are definitely Vanduul encampments on the surface. But think about the salvage or the things that you could find in those bombed out cities and what kind of gameplay there would be like for exploring that. You know, if people wanting... imagine you have all these people in Vega who trace their lineage back to Cyrene, and that's where their families are originally from. And they had to leave in a hurry with barely with what they could carry on their backs. Imagine missions going to this abandoned, bombed out city to recover this family heirloom. Or to find out, hey, find the body of my long lost great 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 uncle, whoever. There are so many different narrative ways that they could write missions for you as a player to go back to Cyrene and explore this nuclear winter hellscape. And what that environment would look like, where you've got, what used to be a jungle forest is now dead and covered in snow, and these formerly beautiful cities are frozen, dangerous hellscapes with Vanduul encampments and Vanduul patrolling them, and you have to avoid the Vanduul, but also battle the elements in order to retrieve things of value, no matter what they might be. You could also have downed capital ships on the planet. It was a military stronghold, abandoned. Imagine the value of finding, just anything from the UE military that was left and abandoned on their military bases. You're a distribution center, UGF type base for the military on the planet. And it's abandoned and you know stuck in this nuclear winter hellscape, and you have to go in there explore it. Like exploring the bowels of the UGFs right now is kind of creepy. Um, or the new distribution centers, something I've been doing a lot. And imagine what that would be like, where you have um, your you have limited atmosphere or limited stored air in your suit. You have to wear a suit that protects you from the radiation. You have to cut or hack or engineer your way into this facility. They might be occupied by the Vandal, so you have to hide from them while you're trying to make your way down to the fourth sub level to find something. The gameplay opportunities are pretty cool to think about on this nuclear hellscape, nuclear winter hellscape of Cyrene. So let's read about these moons. Jai, a reflective moon. Jai, Virgil 1A, is the first moon from Cyrene, Virgil 1 Virgil system located in the Vandal territory. Composed of silicate and carbon, its pale and largely unmarred surface strongly reflects the light of its sun. During the rare cloudless nights that Jai is full, it shines so brightly that very few stars can be seen from the surface of Cyrene. Interesting. Doesn't lend anything to gameplay, and this is something that I was talking about with people in Paul's Discord. The lore team have said that there are going to be plenty of planets and moons that don't have much of a reason for us to go there. There aren't going to, not every planet and moon is going to be have lots of points of interest on it, or is going to be useful for mining or industry or base building. They're there because they add flavor to the universe and make it more believable. And places that are like this are also very easy for the developers to add to the universe to make it feel believable and realistic without a whole lot of development effort. Yeah. Whereas other planets and moons are going to have lots of points of interest and lots of gameplay. It's all about balance. So Corsito, not to be confused with Dorito, a dark moon. Corsito, Virgil 1b, is the second moon from Cyrene, Virgil 1. In contrast to its sister moon, Jai, Virgil 1a, it has a dark, slightly blue surface and reflects about half as much light. An enormous crater with a large ring of bright carbon dioxide ice on its floor lies in its northern hemisphere, creating a single bright point of light. Interesting to think about. Maybe interesting to go look at, take pictures of, sightseeing. Going to be definitely a thing in game. People visiting those locations just to get screenshots or just to say that they did it. But not much in the way of gameplay there, and that's just fine. Effete, the little brother. Effete is Virgil 1c is the third moon from Cyrene, the smallest of the three moons. It was nicknamed Little Brother for appearing to follow the other two moons across the sky. During the fall of Virgil, it was damaged by debris and stray bombs and is covered in impact craters and wreckage from fallen ships. There it is. Salvage, recovery missions, investigation missions, all sorts of opportunities for gameplay there. Sneaking past the Vandal patrols in the system to then land on the surface and salvage the wreckage and explore go wreck diving, looking for things. That same narrative. My great uncle so and so was on this ship. We'd like to have his body brought back to us or confirm his death. Or whatever. hey, this classified information was stored on this ship. Can you go recover it? Or illegal salvage. The UE probably wouldn't be thrilled about you salvaging their derelict ships, but there's probably workable components, usable supplies, all sorts of stuff that you could find on these ships. Material, definitely would be worthwhile. Sino or Sino, inscrutable smog planet. So here it is on the outskirts of the green band. Virgil 2, nicknamed Sino, is the second planet from the sun of the Virgil system located in Vandal territory. A world blanketed with thick and impenetrable smog, there are plenty of smog planets in Star Citizen. And there isn't going to be much reason to go visit a smog planet. They're just going to be there because smog planets are super common. Little is known about its surface. The majority of probes that were sent there before the fall of Virgil only lasted minutes before they were crushed by atmospheric pressure. Military intelligence reports have noted that even the Vanduul seem to give it a wide berth. The Vanduul give it a wide berth. Could be a good place to hide from the Vanduul when crossing the system in order to get to Cyrene or its moons. Something to think about. If the Vanduul avoid it, that's a good place to hide. Hide in that smog atmosphere. Just don't go too far down into the smog atmosphere because that dense atmospheric pressure will damage your ship. But that's a good little tidbit that you don't have to have a reason to go there for money and industry and combat. Just knowing this little tidbit in the lore could save you if you're going on, an expedition into the Virgil system, which is something I think would be super cool. Be loads of fun to do. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay. Gideon's Belt being harvested by the Vanduul. Gonna have to go get more water here in a minute. Gideon's Belt, Virgil Belt Alpha, is the only asteroid belt in the Virgil system located in Vandal territory. While the system was part of the UEE, deposits of iron, titanium, and other metals in the belt supported a modest mining industry that kept Cyrene, Virgil 1, supplied with the raw materials needed to construct its settlements. Vandal ships have been observed harvesting resources from the asteroids. A lot of asteroid belt lore is very indicative of there being, some rare minerals or metals available, or them being having plentiful resources there, or having other characteristics. And some of them don't give you much information at all, and so they might just get fleshed out later. But them telling you that the Vanduul have been seen harvesting asteroids there tells us that there's something worth harvesting there, so it might be worth mining there if you don't want to pay to mine a claim that's owned by Shubin Interstellar. You want to do freelance mining. But B, it also says that if the UEE and Vega are continuing to scout the system and raid the system to disrupt Vanduul logistics and prevent Vanduul attacks, that might be a location that you would have to go to. They say, hey, our scouts have reported that there are Vanduul harvesters mining in this area. We don't have the ships available to attack them right now. But if you can go destroy, maybe it's a giant harvester, destroy one of those, or, destroy multiples of them, it'd be a great boon to the UEE, and you get all this, you would get reputation, and money and such, mercenary missions. And then maybe you could salvage some Vanduul ships. Don't know. But that's what I would think about in terms of gameplay for Gideon's Belt. And you can see it's out here sort of in the mid system. Virgil 3, a stormy ice planet. Virgil 3 is the third planet from the sun of the Virgil system located in Vandal territory. An ice giant, it has a stormy atmosphere of hydrogen and helium that shrouds the significant amounts of volatiles such as water, ammonia, and methane that can be found in its depths. A rocky core lies under its volatile mantle. So storming, it's letting you know that it's very stormy. So high winds, it'd be in the atmosphere. It could be very dangerous to fly into that atmosphere in order to fill up your hydrogen tanks or to do any fuel harvesting. It does let you know that there is, it is an ice giant, and that there is, hydrogen there. But it's also, it might not be the best location to do it, but, in a pinch, if you're willing to take the risk, it's there. All right, that is it for the Virgil system. And now we're going to read about a bunch of Vanduul systems that we don't know much about. So let's zoom out, and we're just going to find these on the map as they talk about them. So let's see. Oh, whoops. Oh, there's moons of Virgil 3, it seems. Okay. Looks like there's 2 moons of Virgil 3. Urna, Virgil 3a, is the first moon from Virgil 3 Virgil system located in Vandal territory. Partially coated in water ice, the parts of its surface that are uncovered are rife with deep craters and long, steep, and deep chasmata. Some of its cliffs reveal dark layers alternating with lighter layers, suggesting that in the past, Urna was geologically active. Interesting. Might be some exploration gameplay there. Other than that, the only thing I can think about would be that, and this is in the outer system, so not as much use as that smog planet, but being able to hide your ship in these deep craters and chasms from the Vanduul. And Jarl, Fields of Methane Ice, or Jarl, is the second moon from Virgil 3. Instead of a water cycle, it has a methane cycle fed by the vast fields of methane ice that coat its surface. Gaseous methane directly sublimates off the ice and creates clouds high in the atmosphere, where snow forms before falling back down onto Jarl. So again, interesting to see, but not much reason to go there. The only thing I can think about is if harvesting methane has some sort of use and or value in the future. Don't know yet. So the Vanguard system, confirmed to have at least 3 planets. So let's find Vanguard. Down here. Aha. So Vanguard has a large jump point going to Elysium. Elysium, formerly known as Jalan, is the home system, or was the home system of the Tavaran. And the Tavaran still have a significant population on their previously home planet. Citizen Joel, can't wait for these Outer Rim systems. You and me both. I definitely want to base my operations in Oberon or Null, probably Oberon, and do expeditions into Virgil, into Tiber, into Caliban, these previously Vanduul held systems, or previously human held but now Vanduul controlled systems, to do mercenary raids against the Vanduul, to go on expeditions to the surface of these previously human held planets, and explore the bombed out cities and bases and all these abandoned pieces of human civilization, to retrieve things and go do salvaging what have you. To me, that's super cool gameplay. It's where you sort of incorporate that sort of post-apocalyptic vibe, scavenger type vibe, into SC, because these are very much, yeah, almost like the apocalypse happened to these places, in that the Vandal invaded and took over these systems, but we still can, you can still access them at your own risk. So the Vanguard system, designated VS-02 by the UEE, so it was the second Vanguard or Vandal system um, discovered, is a Vandal-controlled planetary system that shares jump points with the Lear and Elysium systems. Lear. Oh, interesting. So, not here on the star map. Maybe needs to get updated. We shall see. So, contrary to popular belief, the star map has been updated a lot over the years since it was first released at, like, it was either the end of 2016 or the end of 2017. I don't remember, but that far back. It's been a while. Um, but they don't publish the updates. They don't publish the changes. And the only people I know of that were tracking them haven't been tracking them for like 4 years now. But there have been lots of changes to star system sizes, to the locations of planets within the star systems. Jump points have been added, jump point sizes have changed, the sizes of planets, the types of stars, all sorts of stuff has changed. Little bits here and there. Lots of little things, but some things more impactful than others. But the fact that they're saying here that it has a jump point to Lear and Elysium is interesting. So Lear is the home of the planet with the sandworm. I want to say that's Lear 2, and then Lear 3, or I might be getting them mixed up, but Lear 3, Lear 2 and Lear 3 are the most known ones. One is where the cult, um, if you know of the Arena Commander map, the Good Doctor, that's on Lear 2, I believe. And there's a cult that controls the planet. Really interesting lore about that. Go read it sometime. And then the other planet was where the sandworm is. Um, you know, it's an interesting system, but it's not controlled by the UEE. Whereas Elysium is controlled by the UEE. It is heavily populated, but we also don't know what size a jump point this is going into Lear. And was that a Crash Javelin in the Sandworm video? Yes, it was. Yep. And I don't remember the name of it. I think it has a name, and I think it has lore. I don't recall, though, off the top of my head. I don't know if we know the story about how that one got there. And that one that might be a thing that was just rule of cool at the time that isn't actually there. We don't know. But the sandworm is actually legit in the lore. But if you think about it, so if we subscribe to the idea that for a kingship to go through a jump point, it has to be larger or large or a large. A kingship could go from Vanguard to Elysium, but we don't know if Vanguard is connected by large jump points to any other Vandal jump points. We don't know if they have the ability to build a kingship in the Vanguard system if they can't bring it from one of these other systems. So something to think about. But if they could, is this a large jump point going to Lear? If it is, could they then go from Lear to Banshee, to Tamsa, to Fora? Banshee is a UE controlled system, and there's a planet, a planet with senatorial representation there, with giant underground cities, because there's a pulsar star, I think is what it is. Fora, heavily populated UE system, and that gets you to Nemo and other places. So if this was a large jump point, 2 avenues of advance for the Vandal in a big way. But we haven't heard much, if anything, about the Vandal ever operating in sort of the southern UEE, other than It was in, I think it was the Garen system, is where the X-12, which is, we assume it's a driller, but it's a Vanduul capital ship, a carrier about the size of a Bengal, was found derelict. Was found in the Garen system, but we don't know how it got there. But what if this was a large jump point and they came in this way and managed to get to Garen via Banshee rather than going through Elysium and Idris, which are heavily populated, heavily defended. Banshee is populated, but much less so, and would be much less defended. So, something interesting to think about. The Vanguard system is a Vandal-controlled system that shares jump points with Lear and Elysium. Although no jump point connections to known Vanduul systems have been discovered, it is assumed that at least one must exist to facilitate easy travel between Vanguard and the rest of Vanduul territory. It is known to have 3 planets. In Standard Earth year 2943, the human explorer Christian Meyer entered Vanguard and observed a group of Vanduul living on the surface of Vanduul 3. All other information on the system has been classified by the UE military. So it's classified, and you better believe that the UE military is blockading the jump point from Elysium. So, pardon me. But are they blockading? Do they have a presence in Lear? Are they blockading that jump point? Do they care? Or are they just blockading the jump point going from Lear to Banshee? How difficult is it to circumnavigate those blockades? Because you better believe that there will be retrieval missions to go into Vanguard and infiltrate the Vanduul or take down some Vanduul and retrieve things from them, because Vanduul tech and such, or even Vanduul trophies would fetch a very high price. I would also expect that if you get really high reputation with the UEE, they might offer up scouting jobs, contracts. Hey, go here, scan here, let us know what you see. We don't have the available ships to send anyone right now, blah, 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 this or that excuse. So we're going to give you some money to do it. That way we don't have to risk our people and our ships. But, you'd have to have substantial reputation because they wouldn't want a risk of failure. Pardon me. So if you go into these systems, as far as I know, all of them just look like this. They'll show you the jump points or known jump points on the star, but they won't show you anything else because it's all classified. But we do know that there are 3 planets in the Vanguard system, and that it is connected to Elysium and apparently Lear. So the next one is the Viking system, connected to Caliban. And so Caliban is up, where'd it go? Here. So here's Viking, and it has that's a medium jump point from Viking to Caliban. Caliban also has medium jump points going to Oberon and Orion, but a small jump point going to Null. So when everybody talks about, they're like, oh, well, the Vanduul are really close to Sol. No, they're not. Not via a large jump point, they're not. The only way, if you subscribe to the idea that the Vanduul need a large jump point to move their kingships around, Sol is very isolated from the Vanduul. There's no way. And people are like, well, what if we don't know about all the jump points in Sol? You really think that humanity hasn't invested in the 900 years of space exploration in the Sol system that hasn't been so thoroughly explored that all the jump points aren't discovered? That the UEE, knowing how at risk it would be if there was a previously unknown jump point connecting to Vandal space or near Vandal space. You don't think that they have thoroughly mapped out Sol? Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. Sorry. Um, Newer star systems, where we haven't spent as much time exploring, there hasn't been as much traffic through it. Yeah, but a heavily populated, heavily industrialized system like Sol, we know all the jump points there. Yeah, yeah, that we're not going to find. I don't think I agree with the Astropub Paul Shelley that I don't think we're finding jump points is not going to be a common thing, but I do think it will happen on occasion. But I finding unexplored or and previously unknown star systems, that'll be a unicorn thing. I think in the lifetime of Star Citizen, maybe they'll only add a handful of new systems for us to discover. But I do think finding new jump points will happen with a little bit more frequency, and I think they'll make it so that those jump points will significantly or have a significant impact on the dynamics of the universe and the star map by adding a jump point somewhere to create a significant economic shortcut or gain access to other parts of Vandal space, or maybe we find a new jump point coming from Vandal space to the Centauri system from Vendetta or something like that. Maybe we discover it after the Vandal jump through, and they haven't discovered it. There's all sorts of different ways that this could play out in a narrative way, but that's like winning the lottery, finding a new jump point, discovering it, and selling that back to the UEE. If you do that with your Endeavor or your Carrack or what have you, and you scan it down and then explore it and everything and sell that information, congratulations, you get to retire as a very wealthy person. So there is incentive to do it, but I don't think we're going to be adding a crap ton more crisscrossing, because this is what we have after 900 years of exploration. So Viking, and let's get into there. Yeah, it's just going to show us the jump points. So the Viking system, designated VS-03 by the UEE, is a Vandal-controlled planetary system that shares jump points with the Caliban and Orion systems. In the decades leading up to the fall of Caliban, it was one of the launch points for frequent Vandal raids into the system. It is therefore believed that Viking likely has at least one planet that is being harvested by the Vandal. All other information on the system is classified by the UEE military. Similar to Vanguard, raids into the system, maybe sneaking in there past the from the UEE. Obviously, it's not being blockaded by the UEE anymore because these jump points are held by the Vandal. But that would be, this is like a high tier exploration scouting mission, because you're not just going through the Elysium jump point into Vanguard. You have to go through lots of Vandal space to get to Viking to scout the system for the UEE. So something to think about. But it could get you a whole lot of reputation, a lot of money. Talk about flying by the seat of your pants and some nail biting cat and mouse gameplay. Because that'd be a long ways. Let's see. Next one, Vendetta, possibly connected to Orion indirectly. So Vendetta is, where is it? Here we go. So here's Vendetta. We don't know of any known jump points connecting the Vendetta system. The Vendetta system, designated VS-04 by the UEE, is a Vandal-controlled planetary system that shares no publicly known jump points. Keyword publicly known. Now, do I think that it would be possible to say you're doing a raid on a UEE government facility? You're doing one of those high level raids of a UEE military facility, a distribution center, and you're looking for certain information, classified information on their data banks, and you only have a couple minutes to get it out of the computers, because reinforcements are coming and you need to get gone fast. Maybe you don't get the information you look for, but maybe you have like a random chance to discover files that tell you about the jump points going to Vendetta or Vesper, something like that. Especially if they're not publicly known. Maybe the UE military and the UE government keep it a secret because they know that they're connected to Centauri or Elysium. Don't know. But how cool would that be if you had a random chance to discover that information and then you can't share it with you can't sell it back to the UE because they already know. You can't let the UE know that you know because they'll know where you got that information from, that you did something legal. But how do you turn that risk into a reward? Don't know. You got to go to Vendetta to find out what's there. What might be something worth looking for. I think that would be a really cool narrative and something really cool to find is if the UE knows about these jump points and knows about these systems, what aren't they telling us? And maybe give us a random chance to find that information, but at great risk. And if there's great risk, well, there's probably a great reward behind that risk, but we don't even know what it is. The few intelligence reports that have been made public about this system suggest that it may be indirectly connected with Orion, but jump point connections and all other information on Vendetta is classified by the UEE military. Veritas, featured on Plain Truth. So Veritas is up here near Vector, which is connected to Tiber and Kellogg. The Veritas system, designated VS-05 by the Empire UEE, is a Vanduul-controlled planetary system that shares no known jump points with any other systems. It is included in UEE star charts as part of Vanduul territory, but little other information is known about it. In Standard Earth Year 2945, an episode of The Plain Truth explored a claim that the Banu Protectorate had met with Vanduul known to be based in Veritas. Interesting. Yeah, because obviously we don't have any friendly relations with the Vanduul, but there are Banu Sulis who have been known to do trade with the Vanduul. However, the Vanduul are just as likely to attack them as they are us. How'd they travel to and from without jump point? We don't know. So if they're based here, somehow they likely got all the way down to Banu territory down here, which means they somehow traversed Vanduul space to somehow get to maybe Yulin or one of the other Banu systems over here. And that's just a report. And plain truth is that conspiracy is Parker Terrell, who's like a conspiracy theorist guy. And he explores a claim. So we don't know if it's true, but interesting. They'll spin some sort of narrative about that. They are laying the groundwork for it. We just don't know what that might look like. But it sounds like it to me, it's all very intriguing. Virgo system, home of the very fictional Vanduul Empire. Virgo, let's see, Volt for 1 million. There's Virgo right here close to Vulture, which is connected to Orion. The Virgo system, designated VS-06 by the UEE, is a Vanduul-controlled planetary system that shares no known jump points with any other systems. Yeah. Public information on Virgo is sparse. In the popular speculative novel Beyond the Bounds of War, in Standard Earth Year 2950, the author set the capital of his fictionalized Vandal empire in the Virgo system. Is it fictionalized? Or did he somehow get access to top secret classified information about the Vandal? Does he know something that he's not supposed to? I don't know, man. Makes you think, though. Boro, ruined city. Okay, so this is in Caliban. So let's find Caliban over here. Again, Caliban, connected via small jump point to the Null system. Null is a pirate-controlled massive system. And then has medium jump points to Oberon. Oberon is a human system with underground settlements on one of its planets, but sparsely populated, but home to a substantial clash between the UEE and the Vandul. And the UEE military, the Navy, is maintaining a permanent presence there in order to prevent the Vandul from using it as a way to further attack Vega. But Oberon is where the Retribution fought with the UE Navy and just absolutely obliterated like a medium-sized Vandal clan in the system. But there's some pretty cool lore about the Oberon system. It's a very intriguing system. It's why I want to set my base of operations there. But Caliban, let's get in here. So Boro is on Orion, or on Cryon, this planet right here in the green band. So Boro was a city on Cryon, Caliban 2 Caliban system, located in Vandal territory. The capital of Cryon, it was the home of the main chambers of the Governor's Council, and was the main population center of the planet. Particularly popular among long-haul traders and explorers, it was described in 2599 by travel writer Shasta Wagner as having a cosmopolitan appearance, but a strong frontier spirit. Political activism in Boro increased alongside Vandal raids in the decades leading up to the fall of Caliban, as residents believed the UE government was intentionally withholding much-needed military aid. Boro was destroyed when the Vandal finally invaded en masse in 2884. Again, like we were talking about earlier, how cool would it be to go and explore Boro? Imagine what they say it's a cosmopolitan appearance, but a strong frontier spirit. So, whatever aesthetic they give it, it's on par with. It would have been on par with, say, Orison, in its cosmopolitan appearance, but now it's overgrown, it's abandoned, it's been bombed and destroyed. What would it be, like to explore the remains of that city? Because it's not. It was only destroyed in 2884, so 70 years ago in game time, not 217 years ago, like Cyrene, and the city's on Cyrene. And it doesn't mention anything about Cryon being a nuclear hellscape, or nuclear winter hellscape. Let's see. Yeah, it's still supposedly habitable. So exploring it might be a very different experience than exploring the cities on Cyrene. But not only would exploring Cryon and any other settlements, outposts, towns and cities on Cryon be interesting, but the planet is it's a wasteland, but it's being in the process of being consumed by the Vanduul. So obviously, it would be plenty of opportunity to take mercenary contracts to raid the Vanduul and disrupt their operations there. And the last article for this Galactapedia update in this episode of Lore Equals Gameplay is Lai Se Cray. Ruled the Xi'an Empire before the current Xi'an Emperor. Twing Se Cray? Names are hard because Xi'an speak is difficult. Yep, that name was the emperor of the Xi'an Empire from standard Earth year 2372. Oh my gosh. To 2643. So a long time ago. And is the second to last emperor of the Third Imperial Age. Aunt of the current emperor, because the Xi'an are a matriarchal society. She was known for ordering the fast buildup of Xi'an military resources along the Peri Line. She held a staunch anti-human stance based on the events surrounding Xi'an human first contact, and refused to share intelligence about the expanse of the Xi'an Empire after the UPE made repeated overtures threatening military action. So, just a little background about the Xi'an and the Xi'an Empire and the previous emperor. So the current emperor has been sitting on the throne for over 300 years. The Xi'an lived for a real long time because they are turtle people. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and switch screens. Sweet. Okie dokie. So that is it for Lore Equals Gameplay episode 25. I hope you guys have found this interesting and informative. I really want to say thank you for coming and hanging out with me. It's good to hang out with you guys again. It's been weeks since I've been able to stream and do any sort of content. Life has just been super busy as we ramp up to the twins coming, and I've had a lot going on with the army as well. Yeah, thanks for joining me, Joel. Really appreciate it. Are you Joel from Helldivers? Are you that Joel? But yeah, I'm hoping that the plan is Thursday evening to do the next episode of Give Them Hope world building, where I go through the lore and the story for the game that I hope to design. But I'm doing the world building, universe building for it first, as well as talking about the gameplay mechanics and how they're all connected. So I'll be continuing to work on the prologue for that, as well as working on some more information surrounding the different factions within the game and talking about those. So if you're interested in that, you can check out the previous episodes up on my YouTube. It's been a fun project. I need to talk to the artist I've been working with, who's working on the concept art for your hero ship, which is the AMS Nassau, which is a marine carrier, a marine assault ship, and see how he's doing. It's been a while since we've had a chance to chat, but really like the silhouettes and the white boxing that he's gotten done so far. I think it's going to be really cool. But yeah, thank you for hanging out with me, and come join me on Thursday for some more Give Them Hope content. And hopefully Naz and I will be able to do the next episode of the Pathfinders podcast in the next week. I'm just waiting for his internet to get back up, and then we'll figure out when our schedules align. And I'll keep you posted via my Discord and Twitter about when that's going to happen. But yeah, that's and we're hoping to get that episode up so we can cover the latest roadmap roundup as well as the April monthly reports. But there's a good chance that's going to be the last Pathfinders podcast until I come back from my hiatus paternity leave, because I'm just going to be honest, I don't think I'm going to have any opportunity for content while I'm on, at least for the first few weeks of my paternity leave, which could start literally any day now. Hey, Daedalus, good to see you at the O 07. Thanks for joining me this evening. Hope you're doing well. If you missed part of the show and you want to catch up the rest of it, it probably won't be up on my YouTube tomorrow, but it should be up by 2 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, if not sooner. So just keep an eye on my YouTube. It'll show up then. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. Cheers, you guys. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And if you have any questions or want to talk about SC about this stuff or anything else, hop in my Discord. A lot of very active and fun, friendly people in the Discord. So if you're not a member of the Discord already, please come join us and be a part of the community where we group up to play different games, not just Star Citizen, on a regular basis. So it's a good place to chat, hang out, have fun, and get together. All right, good night, O 07. Cheers.